The hum of the engines was barely audible, but to Captain Adrian Cole, it was a reminder that they were out of time. He stood in the control room, his eyes fixed on the glowing red dots swarming the screen. The Galactic Council's fleet had entered Earth's atmosphere. His breath caught as the first alien dropships descended through the clouds, their sleek, predatory forms silhouetted against the burning sky. "Enemy contact in 2 minutes!" The voice from command crackled over the comm. Cole's grip tightened around his rifle, the familiar weight grounding him. Across the room, Lieutenant Reina Torres watched him with steely eyes, her jaw set in grim determination. "They don't even know what's coming," she muttered. Her words were bitter, tinged with the resignation of a soldier who had seen too many impossible battles. "They think we're weak." Cole nodded but said nothing. There was nothing left to say. Humanity had always been underestimated, and today was no different. But today, they weren't just defending Earth. They were making a statement. He glanced around the bunker. His team, warriors forged in the fires of humanity's desperate survival, were ready. Sergeant Jackson checked the explosives one last time, while Corporal Novak adjusted his visor, already calculating their chances. Low, but not impossible. They were all that stood between Earth and total annihilation, a handful of soldiers against an armada bred for conquest. "Captain," Torres snapped, pulling him back to the moment. "What's the plan?" Cole's eyes narrowed as the first alien dropship touched down, its landing creating a shockwave that rattled the walls of the bunker. Through the viewport, he saw the sleek armor of the alien infantry as they disembarked, tall, sinewy, with glowing eyes that radiated cold efficiency. They moved like a single, fluid organism, every motion calculated, every step rehearsed. "They'll push hard and fast," Cole said, his voice low but steady. "They'll expect resistance, but nothing organized. We'll give them exactly what they don't want, a fight that drags them into the mud." Torres arched an eyebrow. "We're vastly outnumbered." Cole smirked, but there was no humor in it. "We don't need numbers. We need strategy." Outside, the sky darkened as more alien ships descended. The ground trembled, the air thick with the smell of burning ozone. His senses sharpened, the faint taste of metal in the air, the vibration of boots hitting the ground, the distant rumble of artillery fire. This was it. The moment humanity would either break or rise. Cole turned to his team, his voice cutting through the rising tension. "We've been through hell before. Today's no different. We hold them at the ridge, funnel them into the city's ruins, and then we cut them down." Jackson gave a grim nod. "Sounds like a plan." The aliens moved in perfect formation, advancing toward the ridge. The first line of humans opened fire, their bullets pinging off the aliens' armor with little effect. The aliens didn't flinch. They never flinched. Cold, unfeeling. Machines wearing the guise of life. Torres readied her rifle, her eyes never leaving the advancing forces. "We've got about 30 seconds before they're on us." Cole watched as the aliens closed in, his heart pounding in his chest. The time for words had passed. It was time to fight. "On my mark," he said quietly. The air grew still for a heartbeat. "Mark!" With a roar, humanity's last line of defense surged forward. The ridge exploded in a cacophony of gunfire and explosions, shaking the very earth beneath them. Captain Adrian Cole held his ground, his heart pounding with the rhythm of battle. The aliens were relentless, their advance unwavering despite the barrage of human firepower. As the first line of alien soldiers breached the ridge, Cole could see them more clearly, tall, almost insect-like creatures, their smooth black armor gleaming under the smoky sky, cold eyes locked on their prey. Torres crouched beside him, her rifle locked on a target. "They're faster than we thought," she said, firing off a round. The alien soldier recoiled slightly, but its armor absorbed the shot. With a swift motion, it raised its weapon, a sleek, glowing rifle that hissed as it fired back. Torres ducked, the energy bolt searing the air where her head had been moments before. "Not fast enough," Cole growled, pressing the detonator in his hand. An instant later, the ground beneath the advancing aliens erupted. Explosions ripped through their ranks, hurling bodies into the air, their perfectly synchronized advance crumbling into chaos. The sound was deafening, the heat from the blast searing Cole's skin even from the bunker. "Now!" he shouted. "Push forward!" His team surged out of the trench like a pack of wolves, guns blazing. They moved with precision, using the ruined landscape to their advantage, darting between collapsed buildings and rubble, each shot calculated, every movement deliberate. Corporal Novak led the charge, his energy cannon blazing as he ripped through the disoriented alien soldiers. Jackson, always methodical, planted more explosives as they advanced, readying for the next wave. "We need to slow them down before they regroup," he muttered, glancing at Cole. Cole nodded, his eyes narrowing. The explosions had bought them time, but it wouldn't last. These weren't mindless drones, they were intelligent, adaptive, and they'd learn. And when they did, the human line would be broken. Just ahead, a hulking alien commander rose from the smoke, its armor dented but functional. It barked orders in a guttural, alien tongue, rallying its troops. The alien soldiers around it responded instantly, regaining their formation and advancing with renewed purpose. "Take out the commander!" Cole yelled, pointing to the towering figure. Torres responded without hesitation, lining up her shot. Her pulse rifle's scope gleamed as she took aim, her breathing steady. She fired. The shot hit its mark, striking the commander in the chest. But instead of falling, the alien's armor absorbed the blast, only staggering it. It let out a bellow, lifting its weapon, a brutal, curved blade that crackled with energy. "Damn it!" Torres hissed. "It's armored too heavily." Cole clenched his jaw, quickly scanning their surroundings. The battle was shifting. The aliens were learning their tactics, adjusting their movements. He needed a new plan, fast. "We need to separate them," Cole said, his mind racing. "Force them into the city ruins. They can't use their numbers against us in narrow alleys." Jackson nodded, already moving to rig another set of charges along the path leading into the wreckage of the city. "Give me 2 minutes." "You've got one," Cole barked, laying down covering fire as the aliens advanced again. The relentless march of the alien soldiers began to press closer, the weight of their numbers pushing the humans back toward the crumbling buildings behind them. Cole's breath came in short bursts now, the weight of the fight pressing down on him like a vice. He could feel the heat of the explosions behind him, smell the acrid stench of burning metal and flesh. His fingers itched with the familiar grip of his rifle, his senses sharp and heightened. Novak yelled out a warning from up ahead. "They're flanking us!" Cole turned, his blood running cold. A second group of aliens had broken off, moving through the ruins to circle behind them. They were adapting faster than he anticipated. "Fall back!" he ordered, his voice rising above the din of battle. "Get to the ruins!" The team pulled back, retreating into the narrow streets of the city, dodging fire as they moved. The air was thick with dust and smoke, the ground trembling with the impact of each alien step. Cole's mind raced, adrenaline pumping through his veins. This was it, the moment where they either outsmarted their enemy or were wiped out. As they entered the ruined city, Cole glanced over his shoulder. The alien commander, undeterred, was leading its troops into the trap. He grinned, a fierce, determined smile. "Jackson," Cole called, his voice steady despite the chaos. "Now." A series of explosions echoed through the streets as the charges detonated, collapsing the buildings behind them and sealing off the narrow passageways. The aliens were trapped. For now. But Cole knew it wasn't over. The real battle was just beginning. The air inside the city ruins was suffocating, filled with the acrid stench of burning metal and the heavy dust of collapsed buildings. Captain Cole wiped the sweat from his brow, his pulse hammering in his ears as he surveyed the shattered landscape around them. They'd bought themselves a moment's respite, but the relentless pounding of alien weapons against the collapsed barricades made it clear the enemy wasn't giving up. "Status, Jackson?" Cole's voice cut through the silence, his tone urgent but steady. Jackson, crouched next to the debris, was frantically rewiring another charge. His hands moved with practiced efficiency despite the tremors shaking the ground. Almost done, sir, he muttered, glancing up briefly. But it won't hold them for long. They'll find another way around. They always do, Cole responded grimly. His mind raced. He knew the barricade was a temporary solution, a brief pause in the inevitable tide of alien soldiers. Every second counted now. If they were going to survive this, they had to turn defense into offense. Beside him, Torres scanned the horizon through her rifle scope, her eyes sharp despite the exhaustion etched on her face. They're regrouping, Cole. The commander's still alive, rallying the remaining troops. We've got maybe 5 minutes before they hit us again. Cole's jaw tightened. 5 minutes. He glanced toward Novak, who was pacing the narrow street, restless energy radiating off him like a coiled spring. We need to hit them before they get the chance. Novak turned, his expression fierce. Hit them? We're down to half our ammo, and they've got us outnumbered 10-1. We don't need more firepower, Cole said, his mind working through the plan forming in his head. We need to outthink them. Torres lowered her rifle, looking at him curiously. What are you thinking, Captain? Cole knelt down, drawing a quick map of the area in the dust. They're pushing us hard from the east, but their real strength is in the west, where the commander's leading them. We need to create the illusion of weakness here. He pointed to the east side of the city. And draw them in. We'll lure their forces into a trap, take out the commander, and cut off their leadership. Jackson, still wiring explosives, paused to listen. You want to fake a retreat? Exactly, Cole confirmed. They'll think we're falling back. Once they're deep enough in the city, we blow the streets, collapse more buildings, and cut them off from reinforcements. We isolate the commander and take him out. Novak's eyes gleamed with sudden understanding. And without their commander, the rest of their forces scatter. Torres nodded, catching on. It's risky, but if it works, we can break their momentum. We don't have a choice, Cole said. This is our shot. Jackson stood, wiping dirt from his hands. Charges are set. We can collapse the east side whenever you're ready. Good. Cole straightened up, feeling the weight of the moment. Novak, take point on the fake retreat. Make it look convincing. Fire a few rounds, then fall back fast. Jackson, stay with the detonators. Torres, you're with me. We'll be waiting on the west side for the commander. They moved quickly, slipping into position as the rumble of alien footsteps grew louder. Novak, as agile as ever, darted between crumbled buildings, firing off a few shots before sprinting back toward the interior. Alien troops, emboldened by what they perceived as a retreat, surged forward, their guttural shouts echoing through the ruined streets. Cole watched from a vantage point as the aliens flooded into the city. They were moving fast, just as he'd hoped. He could see the commander at the back, directing the assault with mechanical precision. Wait for it, Cole whispered to Jackson, who hovered over the detonator switch, eyes locked on Cole's signal. The alien soldiers advanced deeper into the city, unaware they were walking into a trap. Cole could feel the tension building like a coiled spring. Any second now. Now! Cole shouted. Jackson slammed his hand down on the detonator. The ground trembled violently as the eastern buildings collapsed in on themselves, creating a thunderous wall of debris. The aliens at the front were buried beneath the rubble, while those behind were cut off from their leader. The alien commander roared in fury, its booming voice echoing off the stone walls. It charged forward, rallying what remained of its troops. Cole's heart pounded as he motioned to Torres. Now's our chance. They moved swiftly through the narrow alleys, closing in on the commander's position. The alien's towering frame loomed ahead, its armor shimmering in the dim light. It was alone now, isolated from its troops, just as Cole had planned. Torres lined up her shot, her pulse rifle steady in her hands. I've got the shot. Take it, Cole ordered. The shot rang out, striking the commander square in the chest. It staggered, its energy shield flickering. But it wasn't down yet. With a deafening roar, it lunged forward, blade raised, aiming for Cole. Time slowed as the alien charged. Cole's instincts kicked in, and he dodged just as the blade sliced through the air, inches from his head. He raised his rifle and fired at point-blank range. The commander fell, collapsing to the ground in a heap of shattered armor and lifeless limbs. For a moment, everything was still. Then Novak's voice crackled over the comms. "The remaining forces are retreating. We did it." Cole exhaled, tension leaving his body. They had survived. For now. But in the back of his mind, he knew this was only the beginning. The sharp clang of metal echoed through the dark tunnels beneath the ruins as Cole led his team deeper underground. The victory above had given them a sliver of hope, but that hope was quickly fading. The enemy's retreat wasn't a full surrender, it was a calculated withdrawal to a new front. And now, Cole's team had been tasked with the unenviable mission of tracking them down into the alien-controlled labyrinth that stretched beneath the city. The air was thick, damp, and reeking of decay. Each breath Cole took felt like he was inhaling the last vestiges of a dying world. The dim lights attached to their helmets barely pierced the oppressive darkness. Every sound felt amplified, every drip of water, every shuffle of feet. It gnawed at their nerves, threatening to unravel the thin threads of their resolve. "Keep moving," Cole ordered, his voice low and controlled. "We need to find where they're regrouping." Torres was right behind him, her rifle ready, eyes darting across the shadowed walls. "This place gives me the creeps, Captain. Feels like we're walking into a trap." "We probably are," Cole replied, his tone pragmatic but grim. "But we don't have a choice. Command needs intel on their base of operations down here." Behind Torres, Jackson and Novak trudged along silently, their faces drawn tight with tension. Jackson, ever the optimist, managed a small grin. "Hey, at least it's not raining down here. I'd take creepy tunnels over the mud we just crawled through." Novak wasn't amused. "Tunnels with unknown hostiles in every corner, and we're walking blind. How's that for a death sentence?" Cole shot him a glance. "Focus. We stick to the mission." The team pushed forward, the walls narrowing around them. The tunnels seemed alive, as if they shifted ever so slightly when they weren't looking. Cole kept his hand on his rifle, his instincts tingling with that sixth sense that had kept him alive through countless battles. Something wasn't right. As they rounded a corner, the tunnel opened into a massive cavern. The ceiling arched high above, lost in the gloom, and strange, bioluminescent moss clung to the walls, casting an eerie green glow over everything. It was a stark contrast to the suffocating darkness behind them. And at the center of the cavern they saw it, a makeshift alien command post. There were no soldiers, just the remnants of equipment, control panels, crates, and strange devices that hummed with alien energy. Cole's eyes narrowed. "Looks like they were here recently. But where are the troops?" Torres knelt by one of the devices, inspecting it carefully. "This is advanced tech, way beyond anything we've seen from them. They're coordinating something big down here." "Yeah," Jackson muttered, his eyes scanning the shadows. "But where are they now?" Cole's instincts screamed at him. This was wrong, too easy. "Novak, get ready to scan for life signs. Something doesn't feel." A blaring alarm echoed through the cavern, and in an instant, the ground beneath them rumbled violently. Cole barely had time to react before the walls shifted, and from concealed alcoves in the rock, a swarm of alien soldiers poured out. They were smaller than the soldiers they'd faced above ground, but faster, much faster. Their insect-like bodies gleamed in the dim light, and their screeches filled the air as they rushed toward Cole's team. "Ambush!" Torres yelled, firing her rifle at the oncoming swarm. Her shots were precise, hitting the closest targets and sending them tumbling into the dust. Jackson and Novak were already in position, laying down suppressive fire, but the aliens were closing in too fast. Cole barked orders, his voice cutting through the chaos. "Fall back to the tunnel! Don't let them surround us!" But it was too late. The swarm was everywhere, crawling over the walls, the ceiling, and surging forward with terrifying speed. One of the creatures leapt at Jackson, its sharp limbs slashing through the air. Jackson barely managed to duck, his knife flashing out to cut the creature down before it could land a lethal blow. "We're getting overrun!" Novak shouted, his voice strained as he emptied his rifle into the horde. Cole fired into the mass of bodies, but he could see the inevitable. They were outnumbered and outmaneuvered. The enemy had known they were coming. Suddenly, a deafening roar shook the cavern, and the swarm hesitated. Out of the darkness, a larger alien figure emerged, towering over the others. It was armored, its insect-like exoskeleton gleaming with a sinister sheen, and it carried a massive energy weapon that hummed with deadly intent. The alien commander. Cole's heart pounded in his chest. This wasn't just a trap, it was a deliberate counteroffensive. They had been led here, and now the alien commander was ready to crush them. "Hold your ground!" Cole shouted, pulling his team closer to the tunnel's mouth. If they were going to survive this, they needed to get out of the open and find a defensible position. But the commander had other plans. With a single motion, it raised its weapon, and a blast of energy tore through the cavern, sending shockwaves that knocked the team off their feet. Cole felt the searing heat as the blast scorched the ground inches from where he'd fallen. Torres scrambled to her feet, coughing from the dust. "We need to move, Captain! We're sitting ducks out here!" Cole gritted his teeth, pulling himself up. The situation was dire, but they weren't finished yet. "Jackson, get that charge ready! We're bringing the whole ceiling down if we have to." The alien commander advanced, its eyes glowing with cold malice as it prepared for another strike. Cole's mind raced, searching for a way out, as the walls of the cavern seemed to close in around them. "Ready to blow the tunnel on your command," Jackson said, his hand poised over the detonator. Cole locked eyes with the advancing commander. They were out of time. "Do it!"